Good morning and happy Tuesday 10 at 10. I am your host and baker influencer, Richard Charpentier. I have over 35 years of experience working in the bakery industry, and I'm here to answer your questions. So let's get started. The first question we received is I have a question regarding making corn puff, and it's done through an extruder, and they want to use potassium sorbate to extend the shelf life, but they have no idea how to get about it. So, and they're using apparently a coating, chocolate syrup, sugar, lemon juice, and cocoa. Well, the first question to you, as you're trying to use a potassium sorbate, which is sorbic acid to prevent any mold growth, is what are the issues? I know you do mention extending the shelf life, but extended shelf life of what? You're using cocoa, you're using different ingredient. What seems to be the problem with your product? Putting potassium sorbate will lower the overall pH, but what is the pH of your product? There is a pKa to follow, so it's very important to understand by adding certain ingredients, what are you trying to do? And is this a necessary ingredients that you have to add into your system to extend the shelf life? For example, shelf life to me applies to several things, is keeping a product free of mold over the duration of the time of the product, and to ensure that the product is good, of good, consistent quality, and safe to eat a month, 2 months, 3 months later based on that. And how do you approach it? By balancing, having the right pH to control any mold growth, by controlling the packaging with the oxygen. There are different ways of doing that, and by also ensuring any starch retrogradation that could happen where your product will feel stale and dry. So those are the things that I would recommend to you before saying I need to put potassium sorbate into the product. There's a lot of great, amazing free information you can find on Bakerpedia. It's free for you to view, and I would recommend you go and look for it. But thank you for sending your question. Now for our second question of the day. How do you incorporate lard into a dough? Would it emulsify with lecithin or the eggs or a GMS? So basically, you wanting to know what to do with putting lard. Lard can still be used in the US, but I would say check your local regulations and based on where you are. And if you make a pie crust, and usually the fat is being added as a solid and blitzed into your flour and then worked through it, you don't want to overwork it. Once you get into putting eggs and emulsifiers, it's a different product. Eggs do contain lecithin, so I would say use lecithin to the natural eggs if you're looking to put eggs. If you don't want to put eggs and because of allergen, you could put sunflower lecithin, which can help emulsify. But in terms of what needs to be added to your dough, it's going to be up to you and your customers, because I can't say, because any ingredients you're adding to your process will change the texture and will change the overall experience of your current customer. So changing products along the way, I need to have more details to know what are you trying to do and what is the cause and effect of why you're trying to change and why there's the reasoning of putting different ingredients. But lard will make great ingredients because of a different melt point of the natural lard, but then you have to label it as containing animal products for those who are want to know and would rather stay away from lard. So that great question. So now for our last question of the day, someone wants to know regarding the bread volume. Is bread volume enough or is specific bread volume also needed for bread analysis? So bread volume or specific bread volume is basically measuring, it's a QA QC analysis that people do in order to ensure that whatever new ingredients are in the lab or even in the plant, to ensure that your bread volume is consistent to what you're selling. We all know that as bakers, the big challenge in, we're working with the flour, dough temperature, right absorption, right mix time, to make sure that your bread will be consistent in terms of volume, and then the slices will look adequate. So how do you ensure that? There's different ways of doing it. There is a way to measure volume done with rapeseed. It's you put a loaf of bread into a box, pour, you invert it. It's a lot of rape seeds, and you'll see how much rape seeds you have to add. And then it gives you sort of a volume of the bread. And it's a good indicator to know that whether or not you're able to repeat the consistency of your breads when you're manufacturing them. There are other things done with a laser that will measure it's a little more intricate, but it's an expensive machine. So however you measure the volume of bread, it's important to correlate those results with prior production. So I would use it as a QA QC method that will help you determine your quality, your day-to-day quality for your product. So that is it for today, my friends. So I wish you a good Tuesday and happy baking to all of you. Thank you.